Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Joffrey Noodle Legs here with Sullivan today. Here he is. Hello mate. Hey, yeah, good boy. Yeah, here we are with Sullivan. Got a different... Are you tired? Oh, he's lovely. Got a different video today. Today I've got another music video for you. Today I'm going to go through some of my Gary Numan collection. Now, you may remember I did a top 10 not so long ago, my favourite Gary Numan albums. Now, I've been a fan of Gary Numan since 1980, I believe. I know his singles Cars, and that came out in 79, and I bought Cars in 79, and I really liked it, but I didn't really become a fan until about 1980, when I went to see him for the first time. I was working back then. I was really young. I was about 14, something like that, and I was working just a little part-time job as a cellar boy at a social club, and I got talking to the regulars there, and as you do, you know, and a couple of the lads there were going off to see Gary Numan, and I told him, oh yeah, I got one of his records, so I went with them, and that was it. I was hooked, and when I went, it was I got this there, and I still have this. This is the program from that tour, the Telly Tour 1980. Now, back in the day, merchandise was really good, but very quite simplistic. You would have t-shirts, you would have sweatshirts, not hoodies, you'd have sweatshirts, and you would have badges, and you'd have scarves, and you'd have programs. Now, but things are reasonably priced then. I remember the t-shirts were like about £5. This was about £1.50 or £2, something like that. And yeah, this is my program from that show, and as you can see, it's been signed there by Gary. See, so that's really cool. Um, and it's just pretty much tells you the story of Gary Numan and about the tour, and then you got you can order online merchandise from the Gary Numan website, and so this was like a concert program, and so that was when I really got into Gary Numan. When I went there, and I bought the badges, I bought a T-shirt, I bought the program. Unfortunately, the program's the only thing that survived, and it's not looking too brilliant, to be honest. But it's 42 years old, you know, so it's quite cool, really, to still have that. So that was something that was really cool to me. And like I said, and when Gary toured back in the 80s, programs were a real big thing. Um, and so, oh, here's my Gary Numan tour programs on the tours that I went to. So there you go. You can see I went to see him in 1982. That was a special shows because he had done he did his farewell concerts in 1981, which I went to at Wembley. As you know, I spoke about that in my top 10 videos, and he did like a little tiny mini tour at the end of 1982, and I went to one of the dates there. 83 was his big return sort of tour, and that was the Warriors tour, and that's probably my favourite Gary Numan tour of all time. Absolutely love it. Then he did the Berserker tour in 1984. Fantastic tour. As you can see, I've met Gary a few times, so I've got a few, quite a few of my stuff is signed by Gary. 1985, he did the Fury tour. That's the program from that. I believe this is 86. It's the exhibition tour, 87, sorry. The exhibition was like a not necessarily a best of. It was just it was a compilation album of sort of like some singles and sort of like some rare stuff and album tracks. So it was quite cool. 1988. Yeah, this is when some of his albums were pretty poor, but I still went to see him. Still followed him. Again, I think that's 89. Skin Mechanic. 1990. There we go. 1991, 93, same year my son was born, Dream Corrosion, terrible tour. 93 again, and then the tour started getting better around 94 with the Sacrifice tour. This is when Gary started to come really cool again. 96, that was the Premiere tour. Premiere again was like another best of. There we go, so on his mini tour. 97, and then 97 the XL tour, and then 98 like his yearbook from the 98. And then he stopped doing them sort of programs, which was really sad, because they were just fantastic. They were like real memories, you know, because t-shirts you grow out of. I mean, most of my t-shirts back then were small to medium, you know, because I was a young lad. And you know, now I'm an old man. I mean, me XLs or double XL sometimes, depending on the t-shirt make. But yeah, but back then it was just like really cool, and they programs were just like a real. There's no photographs from the shows there. They were just like just a captured memory of like, oh, I remember buying that. I just remember buying that, especially, I mean, that one. I remember getting that one because obviously it was my first Gary Numan show, and I've been to a few concerts before then, before Gary Numan, but that was my real big show, and it was the only show that I saw. That was at Hammersmith Odeon, and it was just one of the first shows that I saw with like proper merchandise. It was like, wow, what's all this, t-shirts and stuff? Because I remember the guy saying, bring some money with you, because they will be selling t-shirts and things like that now. And I thought, oh wow, cool. So I saved up my money, my wages, and I took them with me. And that was 1980, which, as you know, he released as an album, which is in this box set. Okay, this is Living Ornaments LP 1970. This is the original 79 and 80. I've had this since it came out. I bought this at about, must have been about 1981, something like that. I bought this, and again, it's looking a little bit worse for wear as the box, but you know, it is what it is. I'll show you this. Let me pop it down. So it comes with like it's got like a little leaflet thing in there, which shows you the whole tours and dates that he did on those two tours in 79 and 80. And then you got the two records. 90, the sleeves are starting to look worse for wear, and it's not because I've done any damage to them, it's because they're old, so the glue on these are starting to wear off. So they're not damaged, it's just the glue's starting to wear off, so they need like a re-glue. But this is 79, the vinyl, and it comes with like showing you the whole band there. Fantastic. And my record's still in really good condition. I used to look after my records, so as you can see, they're in good condition, apart from the dust, obviously, because I've not played them for I've not played this record now for 40 years, something like that, but I've still owned it. I still got it. And here's the 80. This is the show. This was recorded at the actual show I was at that show, and it's just like a 10-track album of like the show. And again, the vinyl, my vinyl is in really good condition. So apart from, it's just dusty, there's no scratches or marks or warped on the records. I keep all my records nice. So that's the box set from that tour. So that was a really important time for me, because that's when I really got into Gary Numan, and then I got a little bit obsessed with him, and I just used to buy sort of everything that came out, and I used to collect all the albums on record. There wasn't much CD back then. CDs weren't. I think they come in sort of mid to late 80s, didn't they? So but then it was all sort of vinyl. So I brought the original Tube by Army album, Replicas, which again Gary's very kindly signed it to Joff there. So I've still got these, the albums, so, and that's been signed, so that's really, really cool. And obviously his first solo album, The Pleasure Principle, also signed there. Now, yeah, these, if you, oh cool, it'd be worth quite a bit of money signed. It won't, because it's to me. You see, for Joff, Gary Numan. Because I say I've met Gary a few times, and he's sort of like signed stuff for me over years and stuff like that. So it's valuable to me. It's priceless, but to anyone else, probably not. Unless you're called Joff, then you know, if you know someone called Joff, they could be worth a lot of money. So, and then he did his farewell concerts in 1981, which I have spoken about to you. And I was at that show, and I own it on DVD. It's called Micro Music, and for some strange reason, I own the DVD twice. But there we go. I've got 2 copies of that. That's his farewell concert at Wembley, and that's the full show over 2 hours. So that was fantastic. So quite an emotional time, because we thought we'd lost Gary then. We thought he's done his farewell, he's going to resign, we're not going to see him anymore. And you know, so I was actually heartbroken, because it was like all my little sort of like hero sort of dream. He was my first sort of hero. Yeah, I mean, before that I did love David Bowie, T-Rex, Dr. Feelgood, 10cc, all these sort of bands and stuff like that. I really, really enjoyed. But he was the first one for me that I was actually got that real connection to, because a lot of his songs were all about sort of isolate from other people, and that sort of like feeling alienated. I can quite come along with that when I was young, because I was a bit different to most of the kids at school. You know, I was into sort of like my alternative scene of music, and I'd always felt that little bit different than the normal. So I connected to him, but by miracle, and as I showed you in there, the Warriors tour come up in 1983, and that was fantastic to see him come back. And there's the Warriors album, and that is one of my favourite albums of Gary Numan, not just because the music, but because of what it stood for and what it meant. He was back, you know, and yeah, he was Mad Max, but he was back, and he sounded harder. His music was rawer. He sort of added like a sort of funk bass to the bass line, and he had like saxophones, and it came, and it was like a deeper sort of sound, and I found it quite a lot more heavier than the earlier ones, which were straightforward electronic synthesizer, dark synth anthems, you know, which were fantastic and very gloomy and very dark. But this was dark, but with a heavy feel to it, and I absolutely amazing. So I went on that tour, 83, and I showed you, I bought the program, I bought the T-shirt, and I was so made up. I was so cool. And then they released a sort of booklet called the Warriors Tour 83, and this was just like this was available through the fan club. And it's just photos from like Gary and that and the tour, because there was no live recordings done of it, which was a real shame. But yeah, this contains quite a sort of few photographs from that tour and on the tour bus. So at least I've got something from that tour, which really meant a lot to me. And then the next tour that came after that was his Berserker tour. I've got the DVD somewhere, but I just can't put my hands on it. But so what I'll do, I'll show you a couple of other really cool DVDs of his. This is from his first 1979 tour, the Tour in Principle. This is the show from that really cool DVD, and he released this on his fan club website with like this conversation, which was him talking about the tour and talking about because he went out on tour. Touring the new album about 2000 or 2007, I think it was. He went back out and toured that first album again, so that's on DVD as well, The Pleasure Principle in its entirety. So they're all from that sort of era. So they're really, really important. So I'm showing you those because I don't really have much from the Berserker tour. I've got the DVD, but I just can't put my hand on it. But what I will show you, which is quite cool, is this box set that I've got here. This is a live box set. And in this, I believe it's got the concert from that tour. Here we go, the very first one, White Noise. So this is the concert, White Noise. This was from that tour, and this was again recorded at Hammersmith Odeon the night I went. So again, it's a really personal album, really important to me, because I remember going, I remember standing there, I remember those badges, I remember my ticket looking like that, you know. So it's so cool. And I've got the program, and of course Gary signed that for me, so that's really, really cool. So that's important. This is a really cool box set. It's got loads of live albums. So there's that one in there. Okay, we've got another one here from the Shepherd's Bush Empire. Let's have a look. This is going to be more around the I think this is more around the Sacrifice tour, if I remember right. We've got this one, which I think is from the, what tour is this one from? I think that might be the Dream Corrosion or something like that, that tour. So that's going to be around about 89. Then we've got this one, which is from the his RIP tour. So it's going to be the 2000s. I'm looking at the track listings to get some sort of idea when they were formed. This is about 1994 as well, tour. And we've got one here from, again, I think it's from the 80s, late 80s sort of tour. So it's a really cool box set. It's like, I collected all these sort of albums individually. Yeah, the Ghost, that's from like an 80s tour. Let's have a look. Dark Light, that's obviously from the sort of Sacrifice Exile tour. That is from the RIP tour. That's from the Dream Corrosion. And this one, I believe, is from 1997, so that's going to be from the Exile tour. So that's really, really cool little box set. And they all live, these all come out individually, and then you can send off for the free box, which was cool. So that's a nice little set to have. So getting through quite a bit now. So I carried on following Gary Numan throughout the sort of 90s, as well as the 80s, and then on to the 2000s. And then, like I told you in my previous video, his sound sort of matured in the late 90s to a more sort of heavy, more sort of industrial influence. And then he released more stuff. He released another live album, which I really like, called Hope Bleeds. He's released loads of live albums. I've got them all, guys. It's just that I'm showing you ones that I really, really like, and that are sort of my favourites in my collection. He released Hope Bleeds, which is really, really, really cool. And this was just such a cool album of time. It was off the, I think it's around the RIP time, or it might have been off Jagged. Yeah, Jagged tour. Because Jagged came out after RIP, and Jagged was really, really cool. Really, really good album. I've got it here, actually, twice. I've got it here, signed copy. I met Gary at the, I went to a signing at HMV. And Gary, I know, Job. I said, anyway, so he signed it for me, but I hadn't even bothered taking the sticker off. And then I've got it on vinyl as well. Again, my vinyl is in good condition. I just don't play them very often. It comes with a poster, and it comes with over 2 discs, which I believe is on white vinyl, if I remember right. So yeah, we got white vinyl, and we got white vinyl. So they're really cool. So yeah, so he released some amazing albums over the past sort of few years. I mean, Jagged is a personal favourite, along with RIP. And he still tours, he still plays, and he's still out there. He's still releasing albums. He's had Intruder out last year, and he's had was it Savage? He's had so many different little albums out, and they're all really good. They're really, really all cool. Any other little bits to show you? I've got a few of these sort of things about. I've got loads of these little things like this that come with, when you buy stuff on his website, he tends to release it with like an extra sort of bonus sort of disc thing with like unreleased stuff. I've got quite a few of these, and some of them were signed. Not just this one, but different ones from I believe different albums. And this one's got all sort of different live stuff on there from different places and stuff. So that's really, really cool. I was going to show you this. This was my Telecon tour DVD. This is not from the original 1980. I wish. This was when he did like the Pleasure Principle. He went out on the road and he toured this album in its entirety, which is kind of funny because Gary's always saying he's not one for looking backwards. You know, he doesn't like doing the retro thing, but he's done quite a few of these tours, to be honest with you. But hey, that's cool. The last thing I'll show you was that there's another signed vinyl. This is a best of Gary Numan. I've had this for a long, long, long time. I bought it when this album when it came out, 1982. So you know, showing me age, but I've still got this. I still played it, you know, and it's a great album. It's just got songs from his first sort of albums, and again, Gary's signed that for me. And again, my record's in good condition. Yeah, no marks or scratches on it, just some dust, which would come off with a nice record cloth. And it plays without pristine sound. There's no problems on my vinyls because I don't play them very often. I used to look after my records when I used to get them, because I used to work, like I said, when I was young, and they cost my money, and I just thought I want to look after them and take care of them, sort of thing. So there we are. I just want to show you a few things. I mean, I have every album of his on record, on CD, you know, you name it, and DVDs. Still got all these DVDs. You know, I just collect everything that he pretty much does. It's just one of my favourites, like New Model Army. You know, I love them. I will do a video on them guys because obviously I followed them about for a few years, so I have some stories to tell about them. But I've made some really close friends through the Gary Numan sort of thing. You know, obviously back in the day we were called Newmanoids. You know, if you follow Gary Numan, because it is sort of android sort of image, and Newman, so it was Newmanoid was like the name that came out of it. But yeah, we don't look like Newmanoids anymore. I mean, most people there look some older than me, but yeah, they're great, and he's a great. I was so lucky to have him in my life, to be honest. These things, Gary Numan, New Model Army, shaped me, the person I am today, because music was, and when I was young, was everything. Concerts, the records, wearing the t-shirt, the images. You know, I've been through a few images in my time. You know, I've been through the Cure stage with the Robert Smith haircut and everything. But there we go. Anyway, guys, that's just a few things on my Gary Numan that I absolutely love. I hope you like that. I will be doing some more videos. Like I said, I'll do one on New Model Army. Until next time, you look after yourselves, you look after one another, and I really hope I see you all soon.